And the multitude of them arose and led him to Pilate. And they began to accuse him and said, We have found this turning upside down our folk, and forbidding tribute to be given to the emperor, saying that himself is Christ a king. And Pilate asked him and said, Art thou king of the Jews? And he answered and said, Thou sayest. And Pilate said to the princes of priests and to the people, I find nothing of cause in this man. And they waxed stronger and said, He moveth the people, teaching through all Judea, beginning from Galilee till hither. And Pilate, hearing Galilee, asked if he were a man of Galilee. And when he knew that he was of the power of Herod, he sent him to Herod, which was at Jerusalem in those days. And when Herod saw Jesus, he joyed full much. For a long time he coveted to see him, for he heard many things of him, and hoped to see some token done of him. And he asked in many words, and he answered nothing to him. And the princes of priests and the scribes stood steadfastly accusing him. But Herod with his host despised him, and scorned him, and clothed him with a white cloth, and sent him again to Pilate. And Herod and Pilate were made friends from that day, for before they were enemies together. And Pilate called together the princes of priests and the magistrates of the people, and said to them, Ye have brought to me this man, as turning away the people, and lo, I asking before you find no cause in this man of these things in which ye accuse him, neither Herod, for he hath sent him again to us, and lo, nothing worthy of death is done to him. Therefore I shall amend him and deliver him. But he must needs deliver to them one by the feast day. And all the people cried together and said, Do him away, and deliver to us Barabbas, which was sent into prison for disturbing, made in the city, and for manslaying. And again Pilate spake to them, and would deliver Jesus. And they cried out and said, Crucify, crucify him. And a third time he said to them, For what evil hath he done? I find no cause of death in him. Therefore I shall chastise him, and shall deliver him. And they continued with great voices, asking that he should be crucified. And the voices of them waxed strong. Pilate deemed their asking to be done, and he delivered to them him that for manslaying and sedition was sent into prison, whom they asked, but he betook Jesus to their will. When they led him, they took a man, Simon of Cyrene, coming from the town, and they laid on him the cross to bear after Jesus. And they pursued him, and there pursued him much people, and women that bewailed and bemourned him. And Jesus turned to them and said, Daughters of Jerusalem, do not ye weep on me, but weep ye on yourselves and on your sons. For lo, days shall come in which it shall be said, Blessed be barren women, and wombs that have not borne children, and the teats that have not given suck. Then they shall begin to say to mountains, Fall ye down on us, and to small hills, cover ye us. For if in a green tree they do these things, what shall be done in a dry? Also other two wicked men were led with him to be slain. When they came into a place that is called of Calvary, there they crucified him, and the thieves, one on the right half, and the other on the left half. But Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his clothes and cast lots. And the people stood abiding, and the princes scorned with them, and said, Other men he made safe, make he himself safe, if this be Christ, the chosen of God. And the knights nighed and scorned him, and proffered vinegar to him, and said, If thou art king of the Jews, make thee safe. And the superscription was written over him with Greek letters, and of Latin, and of Hebrew, This is the King of Jews. And one of these thieves that hanged blasphemed him, and said, If thou art Christ, make thyself safe, and us. But the other answering blamed him, and said, Neither thou dreadest God, that art in the same condemnation? And truly we justly, for we have received worthy things to our works, but this did nothing of evil. And he said to Jesus, Lord, have mind of me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said to him, Truly I say to thee, this day thou shalt be with me in paradise. And it was almost the 6th hour, and darknesses were made on all the earth, into the 9th hour. And the sun was made dark, and the veil of the temple was rent a two. And Jesus, crying with a great voice, said, Father, into thine hands I betake my spirit. And he, saying these things, gave up the ghost. And the centurion, seeing that thing that was done, glorified God and said, Verily, this man was just. And all the people of them that were together at the spectacle, and saw those things that were done, smote their breasts and turned again. But all his known stood afar, and women that pursued him from Galilee, seeing these things. And lo, a man, Joseph by name of Arimathea, a city of Judea, that was a decurion, a good man and a just. This man consented not to the counsel and to the deeds of them, and he abode the kingdom of God. This Joseph came to Pilate, and asked the body of Jesus, and took it down, and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid him in a grave hewn, in which not yet any man had been laid. And the day was evening of the holiday, and the Sabbath began to shine. And the women pursuing, that came with him from Galilee, saw the grave, and how his body was laid. And they turned again, and made ready sweet-smelling spices and ointments. But in the Sabbath they rested after the commandment.